Say what you will about Vince Russo, but it takes a shit writer to know one. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Wrestling Is Now Shitty podcast. I am Dr. Legend, joined as always with my esteemed colleague. Black Friday sales start at midnight.
What time is it? It's podcast time.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Had a very eventful week. I had a really good night last night. I got to meet Big John McCarthy at the Uriah Faber's A1 Combat. I'm an inspector with the Athletic Commission, so that was kind of fun. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, watch some wrestling. Yeah, watch some wrestling too.
I did watch some wrestling. I also stepped into the MMA world a bit. Both actually, I should say. I did catch the film today. We watched The Smashing Machine, the story of Mark Kerr starring The Rock.
How was it?
I will say, you know what? I thought it was a pretty good movie. It was definitely filmed differently, not your prototypical like movie that had like, you know, your introduction, your climax, and your resolution kind of deal. It kind of just followed this journey of Mark Kerr. It wasn't structured like a typical movie, and it was a good movie. I thought The Rock was absolutely fantastic in it. I thought he played it, like the makeup job on that is phenomenal. I had a hard time deciphering it was even him at most times in that role. And I think every MMA fan should definitely watch it, and I think every wrestling fan should watch it. It was a good movie. And speaking of being watched, I mentioned last time on our show we came up to 100 subscribers, which is our end of year goal for 2025, and our next goal to move the goalpost was 200 subscribers by the end of the year. Guys, we got so many of you guys joining. And I know a lot of you are coming in because of the YouTube shorts and the TikTok, so thank you guys for joining in. Thank you guys for tuning in. If we get high enough on the subscriber count, we do want to do these shows live. Yes. We do these, we'll answer live, we'll answer chat questions live. That's the goal overall for this program, is to run live shows. But until then, we're going to do it this way. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll keep that machine going for us. Also, before we move on to the big leagues, if you enjoy the stuff we do and you have questions for us that you would like us to answer and be a part of the show, please email us at winspodcastlive@gmail.com, and we will gladly take those into considerations and answer them on the show and, you know, make you a part of the event. Yeah. But we got a lot of fun wrestling to talk about. Big week of stuff. A lot of things to sink our teeth into. So let's turn on that old Boomertron and get things going. All right, we're starting with something fun today. Joe Hendry ended the segment of NXT this week, and it was an absolute banger. Again, I love Joe Hendry. I love seeing him on there. He's a wonderful talent and great fun to be had. And I have to admit, you know, Chelsea Green, she's starting to grow on me a bit. She can definitely sell it. So just want to play this clip here because I thought
disgusting behavior. We were disrespected in Monterey, and we were disrespected tonight. I have never been creamed on like this before. Wait.
Neither have I. Neither have I. I wanted to cut the cake.
This is fantastic. So Joe Hendry is doing a pretty big program on NXT. It takes a lot to end the show. You're definitely leading with your biggest stars when you're ending the program on a wrestling show, and it looks like they're pushing Joe Hendry to the moon with this segment because Chelsea Green was taking one for the team, and she did a fantastic job here. I definitely think it's to your credit as a heel if you make yourself look as silly and dumb and weak as possible and vulnerable as possible, I should say. And she did it to the max here. She sold it so well, made Joe and Thea look like $1 million after that segment ended, and it got people talking about it and wanting to find out more, wanting to see more. And if you want to get on the program and become a hot topic of conversation, these are the things you kind of have to do. And some people may take it like, oh, she humiliated herself. This is dumb. It's kind of stupid humor. Guess who's writing the fucking show, okay? Triple H put HBK in charge of the shit. So this is the kind of stuff you should expect. I did think it was good that Joe Hendry didn't pop out of a garbage can or anything silly this week. However, pairing up with Thea Hale, I've never heard of her before. I have no idea who she is. It's a downgrade for Joe and definitely kicking Thea up a notch. But yeah, do you have any insight on her or what's going on?
No, I think it's a good program. I think it's funny, and I think they're doing a really good job selling. And you could tell that everyone in this program is hungry. They're hungry to prove themselves, and you're actually getting a lot better performances out of them. Like Chelsea Green in that clip, that was gold. Like she came off as like this angry, Karen, right? And of course it was funny because it was written funny, but she really sold it. And I was like, man, I kind of like Chelsea Green. I'm gonna root for her.
Yeah, I remember seeing her during her segment on the WWE Unreal on Netflix, and I never heard of her before. I know they mentioned her in jest about a Royal Rumble victory, and I was like, man, okay, she must be pretty shitty if they're talking like her about that. Then they go onto her program, she got the whole woe is me thing too, like, I wish I could do this, and yeah, she wanted to wrestle in her hometown, and she didn't get the chance to, which sucks, but I think this is the right move. This is the way you get yourself bumped up and get noticed, okay? If you're going to do something stupid and silly like this. Like, Molly Holly wasn't booked on WrestleMania 20 until she told Vince, look, I need to be on the card. I'll do anything. I'll shave my head if you let me. And they're like, oh, yeah? Okay. And you know what? She's on the card. She appeared at WrestleMania. She did what she had to do to make it on there. And I think this was a fantastic move for her. Doesn't hurt her in the slightest. In fact, boosts her credibility as a heel because now you want the faces to mess with her like this to see her reaction. And it was beautiful. Absolutely perfect. This is the way segments should be. And I hate to say it, this is probably the best segment of wrestling we got all week. So we started off on a high.
Yeah, it really popped me. Like when I saw that segment, I was like, man, this is good. And it's on NXT, right? Like this is the developmental. It's like getting a banger, high school basketball game, going to a high school basketball game and getting a better show than, watching NBA or something like that.
Chelsea Green got shot into the spotlight and all she needed to do was take a cream. Oh man. But they're shooting Joe to the moon here now because today we're recording this show on November 8th. He is the featured wrestler, front and center on the poster to sell tickets to this event. They're like, look, no one else in that program with him is on that poster, but he is front and center. So they're focusing on Joe Hendry, and they're really using him as the catapult for this. In fact, I don't know if you've seen this, but there is talks that Joe Hendry is going to be the mystery opponent on the just announced match against LA Knight in the Last Time Is Now tournament. But I find that decision a little odd because he's in the middle of this pretty hot program right now with Ethan Page and Chelsea Green. To take him out of that and into this Last Time Is Now tournament is a little odd. Now, I wouldn't put it past WWE because they're not in the business of making sensible decisions. They're in the business of making money. But what do you think? Do you think he could pull double duty, or would it be better for him to just continue this program and forget about the tournament, even though it would elevate his career a lot?
I think that he definitely should stick to the program. However, if putting him in a match with LA Knight, have LA Knight go over just to say, hey, we had Joe Hendry on Raw, just to get a pop, just to get a hit on the segment, couldn't hurt either. So it's in my opinion, it's win if you do, win if you don't, because it's really not going to hurt Joe to just go into that, do a qualifying tournament and lose. He's not going to win, and he shouldn't win because he's not quite there yet to dethrone Cena. unless they know something we don't. But yeah, I think it really doesn't matter. But I think I would prefer him just stay away from that tournament, just focus on his angle with Chelsea.
Honestly, if you want to push Joe Hendry, one of the biggest things you can do for a star in a losing effort, put him in the final four of the Rumble. He's one of the last
Yes.
four guys in there. That is like the who's who of wrestling talent ends up in the final four of a Royal Rumble. You know, like you're a big name star if you're one of the last four eliminated show. So I think that would be a big boost for his career. You know, he's definitely kicking it with the fans and having a good time, and everyone loves him, us as well. So I'm happy to see Joe as often as WWE will allow us.
Absolutely. And I think him being highlighted centerpiece on that card is very telling. It's very telling.
Speaking about highlights, we never got a chance to talk about this, but Logan Paul is the newest member of the Vision after he face/heel turned simultaneously on last week's episode of Raw. And I know we're going to get hit with the demonetization bug for playing this clip, but I think it's crucial just to show it, just to go through it again because of the execution of this. All right, I'm going to play as well. Of course. Hashtag I love you, WWE. Let's try this again.
The destruction. The man one still. Oh God! Logan Paul arrives.
Even now, he's not getting the big pop you would as a face. But look at this.
Oh,
okay. Say what you will about Logan Paul, but that was executed brilliantly. I know the WWE Universe has a hard-on for this guy in the worst way. And I will say this, I'm not the biggest Logan Paul fan. You know, personally, I know he's got his issues. I love what CM Punk called him. He's famous for nothing, which is beautifully spoken. And of course, Punk delivering it is the icing on the cake. But you cannot deny his athleticism and his dedication to the craft. And if we're just looking at that introspectively of just what he performs in the ring, and I think it's safe to say that he is not a top guy, but he is a very good talent. And his promos are a little shaky once in a while. His character is just himself, which is kind of odd. You want to see larger than life people. And Logan Paul is fairly larger than life in a sense, but I don't think he would ever make it as a top guy or face of the company. I think he's in the good position where he's at. He's in the mid to upper mid card. Putting him in here as a replacement for Seth, I think it's a great idea because you want the Vision to draw heat. And this guy is a fucking heat magnet. And he gets people to boo him, so you put him alongside there, and that's exactly what you're going to want to do. And it's great for CM Punk, who needs a stable of villains to go through, and Logan Paul can put on a good match with CM Punk. I take that back. Logan Paul will put on a great match with CM Punk, and CM Punk's reign and holder of the belt will be better for it when he beats guys in high quality matches. So I think this is a good move. I think with Seth being injured, it's the right move to do with Logan Paul. And I think it's a lot of fun to watch. And this segment proved it for me. What do you think?
I think it was a great move. I think that I will say this: I am not a fan of like how Logan Paul got here. Not a fan of his brother. I think they're just two guys that went on Vine and got a bunch of like early old younger millennials or Gen Zers to watch their stuff on YouTube, and now they're fulfilling the little Gen Z fantasy of my guys on TV that I loved on YouTube. I get it, right? I get it. Except there's one little problem: is the guy can actually work, and the guy actually gives a shit. And he kind of reminds me of the Miz, right? The Miz was a reality TV star from the real world, except he really loved wrestling and he really dedicated himself to the craft. And so is Logan Paul. And it's a brilliant move because when Logan Paul's on TV, people watch. I mean, he's just that popular. I mean, Logan Paul right now would be the equivalent of putting like Ashton Kutcher in the WWE back in like 1999, 2000, right? Except, obviously Ashton's not an athlete, but he was that popular. He's that popular now that Ashton was back then. And except he can work. And I think him wrestling Punk knows how to use somebody with athleticism to make the match look great. I think being part of the vision, now he's got Paul Heyman to help him out, get his promos in line, or just speak for him because that's all he really has to do. So this is a great program. You're going to get a lot more eyes on these segments now because of Logan Paul. I mean, it just is what it is. A lot of people may not like it, but it's just he's going to fit in with this storyline like a round peg.
It's very rare in today's wrestling world where I get excited to see what's going to happen next week. It feels very Attitude Era-esque the way this segment ended. It was set up beautifully. I credit the writing team to whoever thought this idea up. I thought it was brilliant. I never thought, like, in my mind, like, oh my god, is Logan Paul turning face? I was like, what this? I thought it was an odd move. Like, why would he be here defending him? Why would they be beating him up? I'm always kind of a negative fan of the idea of you joining forces with the guy that beat you up or whatever. Like, the first time I think it happened was Tugboat back in the 90s.
An Earthquake.
Earthquake took him out of SummerSlam being in Hogan's corner. A year later, they're a tag team together. Like, oh yeah, by the way, guys, let's just forget about all that happened. But they did this in the same night, and it could be played off as, oh, it was the setup to help ingratiate Punk in him. Absolutely. And it's a smart move. And I think when you do something this smart, especially with Paul Heyman around, you've got that trickle of influence from him. He can just like, look, why don't we try this, do this? And this feels, I want to say it feels Heyman-esque, because this sounds like something Heyman would do. And
yes.
You know what? Good. I want to see some more stuff like that. And if Heyman made this decision, awesome. I know he's not booking. I know he's not saying who goes over or whatever. But if he can sprinkle just a few nuggets of insight into the program will be all the better for it. And I think
Heyman's in those writing meetings. He's there. And you don't think and a lot of these segments you can tell are just Paul Heyman pitching it to Triple H, and Triple H going, okay, run with it. You want Paul in there? Write the story, write the segment. And this is what we got. We got a Paul Heyman segment, and it's paid off.
Absolutely, a load of fun. I really like this, and I'm looking forward to Raw next week. Imagine that.
Yes.
All right. Speaking of looking forward to stuff, our favorite kayfabe enthusiast, Dominick Mysterio, had some choice words about CM Punk. And let's see if I play just a little snippet here of this interview.
Said, nothing exposed the business more than the WWE trying to convince people that a Greek goddess like Rhea Ripley would date a nerd like Dom Mysterio. Your response, my friend?
My response is nothing kills the business more than someone thinking they're actually good enough to go fight in the UFC and get their ass beat not once but twice. So if you want to talk about nothing kills the business more, just go watch CM Punk's fights in the UFC and you tell me what kills the business more.
God, I love this kid. Dominick Mysterio keeps kayfabe alive, and he sends Punk to the showers with a single comment. Now, I know he's just talking shit, but this is the kind of stuff wrestling absolutely needs. We need to keep this in line, and the best heels right now are doing it. Drew McIntyre, get on Twitter, throwing shade at freaking Naomi and Jimmy Uso. Dominick Mysterio burying John Cena and CM Punk. But that is what heels should be doing. They should be talking shit, and if they get their ass beat, they make excuses. They should be little chicken shits. He is trying to place himself in the position of being a top guy, and he is going to rocket himself there and get people behind him because they are going to want to see him get his ass beat. That's how you get paid. You be a little chicken shit, you talk a bunch of shit, and then you get your foot put back in your mouth by the faces. That's exactly what a heel should do. And he's doing everything right. But you, Midnight, being from both the wrestling and MMA world, I'm dying to hear your opinion on this one.
All right, so let's get a few things clear here. When CM Punk entered the UFC, he was 38 years old when he tried to get into the UFC. He had spent his entire life as a pro wrestler getting his body broken down. I mean, he trained a little bit of Brazilian jiu-jitsu on the side when he could. But now remember, he says, what kills the business more than someone thinking they're good enough to fight in the UFC? Here's the thing. CM Punk was such a big name and his style was like MMA style in the ring that if Dana White calls you up and says, "Hey man, I'll give you $500,000 to fight in the UFC," what would you do?
I wouldn't get my ass beat. That's what I would do.
You wouldn't. Well, here's the thing though. CM Punk was 38 years old. He had never competed in any way, shape, or form, not even in a jiu-jitsu tournament, right? Like just never competed. And he went up against Mickey Gall, who was 10 years younger than him, who had he had 2 pro fights, but he also had 6 amateur fights. It was just not a fair matchup. He never got a fair matchup. And then he fights Mike Jackson and he does a decent job. He does. And I scored it 2 rounds to 1 in favor of Mike Jackson, but Mike Jackson also had a bunch of fights under his record too. So they just never gave CM Punk an appropriate opponent. It was, like I said, it was just a way to get more, get some pay-per-view buys added to the card, right? And that's all it was. So for him to say, nothing, I don't think anybody thought that CM Punk was going to go into the UFC and just, win fights, right? And secondly, if his last name wasn't Mysterio, he would be on the undercards of AEW Collision doing all those flips. I'm sorry. I said it.
I think you're getting heated, my friend, over some kayfabe. But I
it's
have
still
to
real
say,
to me, damn it.
Let me ask you this. Has Punk ever come out and say he just did MMA for the money, or was he trying to take it as serious as he took wrestling?
I think he did try to take it as seriously as he took wrestling. The problem was he was 20 years too late to try that. I think that he tried, but then again, he went from never competing ever to the UFC. I mean, that would be like not even playing. That would be like me. I never even played baseball in high school. And then the San Francisco Giants go, okay, we're going to send you to spring training, or we're going to send you training for 6 months. And then you're going to step up to the plate and you're going to face, Garrett Cole, or you're going to face Yamamoto, and you're going to face Ohtani. And let's see let's see if you can hit a fastball off Ohtani. No way I'm hitting a fastball off Ohtani.
Isn't this CM Punk's choice? Could he not see who's like, we're going to put you against this guy? He goes, can I fight somebody older? Let me fight Randy Couture. He's old. I'm old. We can do this shit. Let's go. And I think that would have drawn more money than CM Punk fighting essentially a nobody, because you're drawing off Punk's name. But so my thing is, if CM Punk was going to get his ass kicked either way, why not get his ass kicked by a higher name? That's all I'm saying.
I agree. Like I said, I think the whole thing was mismanaged by both parties, by the UFC and Punk. But then again, Punk made $1 million fighting 2 fights in the UFC, and that's more money than Dominic will ever get paid to do anything outside of the WWE. And once again, he's only in the WWE because his name's Mysterio. His last name's Mysterio. Let's be real here. I mean, he's doing a fantastic job, but his whole character revolves around the fact that he was a good guy. He was Ray's son, and then he turned on his dad, and that's what made him heel. If his last name isn't Mysterio, he's nothing in this business. I'm sorry. It's the most nepotistic business in the history of the planet. I mean, Dusty Rhodes' kid is the champion right now. You got Randy Orton, Bob Orton's kid. You've got you've got the whole Samoan dynasty. It's a nepotistic business, right? Where Nepo babies rule. And he's just another Nepo baby whining about the fact that he would never get a chick like Rhea Ripley in real life.
Yeah, but if that were really the case, then Ted DiBiase Jr. would sank the shit.
Well, Ted DiBiase Jr. had other problems going on. Instead of Brian Christopher, Jerry Lawler's kid had some other stuff. They're just not all 100% success rates.
Let's not forget, good old Curtis Axel, by the way. Sometimes the dad's name is bigger.
What happened with him, man? I thought he was gonna be great.
You can't. You can never follow Mr. Perfect as Mr. Perfect's son. Like, there's no getting out of that hole. I kind of felt bad for him. I heard his first program, like what he called himself, something McGillicuddy. If your name can't be spelt easily and off the top of someone's head by the wrestling audience, congratulations, you are not long for this world. So if they're going to give you a fucking stupid ass name, I think that was the second dumbest name in wrestling history, right behind Braden fucking Walker.
Yeah.
Oh boy. All right, right before we get to our main event, I thought it was impertinent to talk about this, as this is breaking news as of this morning, where the TKO president, Mark Shapiro, said that WWE needs to move past PLEs that were created by Vince McMahon. And they've said this, and I quote, I'm just going to pick it from part of his quote. He goes, Nick Khan and Triple H created WrestlePalooza, which is the launch event for our new ESPN deal, which did incredibly well and may turn into a super franchise. Not to mention, from a merch standpoint, I don't need to tell you, securing the IP rights and then selling merch at WrestlePalooza, let's just say it was a real winner. Good God Almighty. If you bought a company that has the greatest pay-per-view event name of all time, WrestleMania, and you're trying to tell people we're gonna move away from this stuff, that is the most boneheaded, dumbass take I think I have ever heard in this business. Now,
imagine buying the NFL and changing the name of the Super Bowl.
That's the kind of brain dead shit we're dealing with here. And I understand it from a business standpoint. Look, we're trying to be new, innovative, different. Did they not see the shit Cracker Barrel went through when they tried to change their fucking logo?
Or New Coke. Remember New Coke?
This is the kind of dumbass shit. People like old and nostalgia, especially well-established nostalgia. You cannot get rid of the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, or SummerSlam. Yeah, I get it. It was created by somebody else and you don't own it and you're trying to rebrand and do something different. You will shoot yourself in the fucking foot doing a move like this. And not only that, this kind of move is only good when you are bringing in a whole plethora of new watchers, new people interested in your product, and you're growing considerably. It's like, we have to do something new. Let's catch on to this fan base. And you're not doing that. You are sinking this ship right now, and you're going to send it into the fucking reef by pulling a move like this.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, he's the boss and he owns it and he could do whatever he wants, but Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and SummerSlam, everything else can change, in my opinion. But Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, they those are the three. I mean, a Survivor Series, kind of. I mean, the War Game stuff is kind of cool, but those three need to stay, and now they're all 2-night events. So and the Royal Rumble is like, it builds into WrestleMania, and then SummerSlam is like your big middle of the year card, kind of like bridging you to the Rumble, right? It's in August, it's at the end of the summer, it's a big show, you could do some big marquee matchups.
It's your mid-year WrestleMania. So it's
your,
not as
exactly what it
big,
is.
but it's people look forward to that show. It's huge. And they talk about WrestlePalooza as if it was this like end all be all fucking wrestling show. And it was, I hate to say it, it was fucking Fastlane. Okay. You could have thrown Fastlane on the title of that show and it wouldn't have made any big difference. It would have been the same shit. There was nothing new or exciting about WrestlePalooza to launch it properly as a standalone show or a memorable show. The only thing people remember about that bullshit is John Cena getting buried.
No, I mean, Paul Heyman actually had the WrestlePalooza as an ECW pay-per-view, so it's not like that name hasn't been used before. So, I mean, I get it. They want to put when you buy something, you want to put your little spin on it. But this is just a bad move. I mean, make up your new events, maybe change the February into something else, maybe change the October event into something else. I don't care, but do not take away the Rumble, WrestleMania, and SummerSlam. It's stupid.
This sounds like someone who did not know what they purchased. And they're trying to say, I don't know what I purchased, but I'm going to change it into something I know so it makes me happy. Not your customers happy. Problem. It's going to bite them in the ass. And let's hope this decision dies here tonight and never brings it up again. Okay, on to our main event for the evening. The hottest news as of late, as SmackDown on October 31st was the lowest viewed SmackDown in the history of the show. And I believe this is just for the show when it's shown at its standard time, preemptive SmackDowns and yada yada. This doesn't equate for that, but it's under 1 million viewers, and that is a very, very telling sign of the times. An unfortunate sign of the times. And I know people complain and they say, oh, SmackDown's always been the B show anyways. No one gives a shit about this. Lest we forget that in 2002 through 2004, SmackDown was the number one wrestling show, being led at the helm by Paul Heyman and wonderful writing team, and bringing, stars to the forefront and telling compelling wrestling shows. So it's not like SmackDown has always been the bitch show. Yeah, it's always had this not as important feel to it as Raw, because Raw has been the flagship show, but it doesn't make it any less important. And having views this low should be very scary and a wake-up call to everybody in WWE about what's going on. We're going to dissect this, but before we kind of trickle in, I want to get your initial thoughts when you heard the news.
When I heard the news, I was kind of shocked that it was the lowest in history, but I wasn't shocked that it was low, because I think we're starting to see that we have peaked and we are on a downward trend, and we've now hit the valley. Like, we're literally in the bottom of this bell curve, and it's kind of scary if you think about it, right? Because you can make any excuses you want, but the Attitude Era never saw dips like this. Uh, and neither was there dips in like the 2022 2023 era, right? There wasn't really dips like that, and I think you've got some of the ratings up. Let's take a look at those and see, like
So,
last year, right? Like, you show me those charts from
so
last year.
I wanted to mention this. You said that people want to make excuses. So everyone's excuse was, oh, SmackDown fell on a Halloween, and people are doing stuff. Look, listen here. I was at Halloween. I was out with my kids. We were maybe one of a dozen individuals out trick-or-treating that evening. It was dead. It was a ghost town. People were giving my kids handfuls of candy because they had no one to give it to. So people were at home, okay? There was nothing to do. And look at this trajectory here. We're talking August 1st through October 31st. You're seeing a dip. You're lost 500,000 viewers on your show. Consistently down. And going back, I want to compare apples to apples. This is 2024, okay? In 2024, first week of August, your show did 2.2 million viewers. Here, 1.5. 700,000 gone. Going back here, last week of October, 1.4 million down to 900,000. 500,000 people gone. So consistently, they have lost almost 500,000 people from last year watching to this year. So no excuse. I don't want to hear bullshit about, oh, it's the NFL period, oh, stuff like this. No. This is a terrible fucking sign of things to come. And if they don't right the ship or change things or do something differently, it's going to cause disaster. But what do these ratings tell you?
They tell me that we're in trouble right now with wrestling, because remember, SmackDown isn't on free TV, but it's on TV that most people have. I mean, I get it. It is Halloween. It's a tough night to watch, but even without Halloween, the number would still be pretty damn low. So there's a trouble brewing. They've got to fix SmackDown. They really do, because I think Raw on Netflix is different in terms of how they're going, how they're going to judge their ratings, because you have people that are going to watch it on demand as well. But SmackDown is a live show on a cable network, and they have to draw ratings in order to help the network sell advertising time. So it's scary. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, well, Our boy Vince Russo weighs in on this a little bit. I gotta break this out right here. My favorite Vince Russo impersonation. If there aren't talks right now within TKO to replace the entire old guard heading into WWE Creative, then they deserve everything that's coming their way. This is not personal against H. He's just not qualified for the job. I'm not even sure he understands what a storyline is with his current comments. Say what you will about Vince Russo, but it takes a shit writer to know one. And when I read this, look, other people are saying this. It's not just us as the viewers, and I get it, guys. You think, oh, we're talking so much shit. Oh, yeah, we don't love wrestling. Like, no, guys, here's the thing. We absolutely love wrestling, okay? We are just critical of it because it's something we love and something we want to see keep going. And listening to something like this, seeing what Raw the way it is, and then seeing SmackDown what it's become, SmackDown is heading into the fucking gutter, and it's just proving that wrestling is indeed now shittier than ever. And if Vince Russo sees that, I don't know what else to tell you guys, because he knows what bad shit is, and he's seeing the writing on the walls. Now, his comments on Triple H are kind of interesting. I had heard before some people say you have to be a top guy in order to book and write like a top guy. Absolutely not. I don't think that's the case. I don't think Hogan would have been a wonderful booker. I think Nash, when he tried the book, didn't go so well. Flair for a while was a booker. Dusty Rhodes was a booker. But do you think Stone Cold Steve Austin would be a good booker? He was one of the top guys of all time. As far as Triple H is concerned, yeah, he studied under Vince McMahon. But remember, the buck stopped with Vince McMahon. As much as Triple H is on the helm creative, he answers to a set of masters above him. And they say, look, we need to do this, this, and this to make some money. These are the guys that are selling stuff. We need to feature them. And he has to go, okay, I have to change X weeks of storylines or change things around to feature these guys in order to force his hand. So I'm not saying it's all Triple H's fault, but he answers to a set of masters that Vince McMahon never did. So his back's against the wall on this. What do you think?
Well, I disagree with him saying that he's not qualified for the job because, see, I think the job has changed. Vince McMahon was such a micromanager and was such a control freak that it kind of felt like he had to have his finger in everything. That's not Triple H. Triple H, according to basically everyone, including the footage we saw, he's more of a coordinator. He's more of a, okay, let me get all of my brainy guys together. I'm going to stick them in a room and kick them in the ass until they come up with some storylines. And that's what he does. And he goes, okay. And then he starts, and he doesn't try and like modify people. That's why the storylines come like the Logan Paul thing that had Paul Heyman's fingerprints all over it. It felt like every, and like the finish of WrestleMania 41's night one main event where, you know, Paul Heyman is nervous and then he passes the thing to Punk and then hits him and then that is Paul Heyman 101. He wrote that from start to finish. So I think that Triple H is qualified to be there because he's no longer trying to stick his finger in everything. I just think he needs to corral an idea. I think he needs to kind of step up and go, okay, where am I really going here? He needs to steer the ship more as opposed to like, I don't like to say the words letting the inmates run the asylum, but I think he needs to control his creative focus and get rid of people like Ed Koskey who are just coming up with stupid ideas that don't make any sense and are just wasting time, and focus more on the guys that are kind of making you the money, the Paul Heymans, the Ryan Wards, those guys. Let those guys write your show.
That you do bring up a good point, and I definitely think you're right where Vince is the micromanager. But in that case, if Triple H is going to be the macro manager, he should really focus on long-term story. I know it's hard when you've got your masters upstairs saying, "Oh, no, change this, change that. We got to do this. We got to pivot here." Like, think about this. Remember, guys, when the ESPN deal was originally signed, they thought they were going to launch this in January, and we got a pay-per-view on ESPN 6 weeks later. That's how quick the fucking needle moved on that, and the decision had to be made. So I can imagine when those papers came in and said we had to pivot and change things. It's a lot, and it weighs a lot on everybody. And again, I'm not Triple H's biggest fan. I'm not trying to defend him. I'm just rationalizing the decision here. And there have been reports that he hasn't been on shows backstage, or he hasn't been the same place. Like, definitely not something Vince McMahon would have ever done. Again, I think the only time he's been away from shows was fucking, under trial against the federal government. Yeah,
or when he got his surgery, I think for his quad tears or something like that.
Yeah, it takes hell and high water to get Vince away from his product. So again, those are rumors. I have no idea if there's credible or not. But something, to talk about why this product is deteriorating. Eddie Long said something really good. And this is something I think we've both been emphasizing, that guys aren't selling anything anymore. And I think that's really, really a good critique of the product, because for me, it's so odd for somebody to see somebody take a finisher and like bounce back and then turn around and get countered into a move, and they counter that into something else. Like, do moves mean nothing anymore? I remember you would hit a big move and the guys would fall down. What was the last time we've seen a double down spot where they do a double clothesline, or they're both down and the ref's counting, doing the double 10 count while they're both laying on the mat to let it breathe a little bit? They're so interested on moving from spot to spot and topping what the last guys did in their match and trying to do something cool so they can clip it for social media, that it's making the matches deteriorate overall. It's hard to watch sometimes. I mean, like, I ask you the question: do you remember the last time we seen a spot like that?
I think the closest that we came was the Hell in a Cell with Drew and CM Punk. I mean, if you watch that whole match, they sold everything. I remember there was the spot with the Claymore in the center of the ring, and they were both down for quite a long time. I mean, even Drew sold getting thrown into the cage, like on ringside, right? He gets thrown into the cage and he's selling it like it's the worst pain ever. That's about it, I mean, like I said, if you really want to see guys sell, you have to go to the old school guys, like, or the guys with a lot of time, and then you get all these younger guys, and they're not selling nothing, and it sucks because Scott Hall's rolling over in his grave, man, because he would do a devastating move and just sit there and stare at his guy and just point his stinking finger and go, "Look, I'm the bad guy, and you're on the ground, and you're a cockroach." I mean, it was just, he's right, and I don't know why the younger guys aren't watching CM Punk. The problem is they watch CM Punk's matches and they watch his moves. They don't watch what happened in between. Watch what's going on in transition, and then you'll know who's the best workers in the business.
There is a definite lack of psychology going on backstage, and I think that's because, I know we talked about you don't need to be a top guy to be a top booker, but I think you need to have good wrestling psychology to be backstage back there. And when you fill your top talent guys in the backstage with your friends, that's a problem. Isn't fucking Road Dogg a head writer on one of these shows right now?
He was already kind of up there anyways before Paul Levesque took over. I remember one time he was like, on Vince's dick in Gorilla for a while. Like, he was his assistant at Gorilla for a while. So, but I mean, yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. But then again, who else is he going to trust? Same thing with like the whole click thing, right?
Here's the thing, okay? Road Dogg got over because of a catchphrase. That was it. He was shit in the ring. Okay, he had name one memorable Road Dogg match that Name it. I bet you could think off the top of his head right now. You could say his entire promo that he's famous for, but you can't tell me one match that he was absolutely balls to the wall. That was a fantastic match. You couldn't do it because he doesn't have any, and that's not. I'm not saying that's okay. That's not okay. That can be fine in a certain realm. A lot of guys are famous for their personalities and not their matches. Like Santino Marella. Santino has a lot of funny spots, no AAA classics, but again, when that guy's leading the charge, you're going to have a failure in psychology. And the road agents that are back there, I know they're older guys that are used to this shit. Why aren't they telling these young guys to slow down, do something different, sell those moves, milk the audience a little bit? You can hear pins drop in the middle of the ring while guys are doing their spots and moving from move to move because the fans are so exhausted from seeing stuff happen, they can't take a breath. And then when something finally big does happen, they go, oh, okay, that was cool. And then they go right back to silence. It's hard to watch sometimes.
You're absolutely right. And here's the problem. There's a misinterpretation. So a lot of young guys that came into the business, they all idolized, Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. Those two are the most misunderstood wrestlers ever. Everyone looked at Shawn Michaels and thought he got over because he did cool moves and he did, big spectacular techniques. That is not why Shawn Michaels got over. Shawn Michaels got over because he sold well and he had charisma and can talk and he was an excellent heel on the mic.
He made you believe when he was taking those moves that he was fucked up.
He would get bounced all over the place. It wasn't his cool moves that got him over. Bret Hart, everyone looks at him as this white meat baby face that wears pink, who did technical wrestling moves. Yeah, he did all that kind of stuff, but in the ring, he was vicious. He would take the timekeeper's bell and bash you in the head with it. He would wrap cables around your throat and choke you with it. He would stick your legs around the turnbuckle post and put you in a figure four over it. He was a vicious animal in the fucking ring. He wasn't a technical wrestler. He was a technical wrestler, but that's not what got him over. And same thing with like Punk and McIntyre. I tell people all the time, the reason why that match got 5 stars was because they sold everything. They made you believe everything in that ring that was happening was as real as it got, and it was. But no one's actually analyzing what's happening in the ring. They're just not paying attention. And it's crazy how this freaking bald old 40-year-old boomer wrestling fan knows that, and these guys who've been claiming to have been wrestling in this business don't. If I can see it and you can't, there's something wrong.
Mm-hmm. It's going on with the decline of stuff. We had been talking about this, and I know Midnight brought this up on a previous show, but Maven on his podcast mentioned that Vince knew that the everyday family is where his bread was buttered. Selling the tickets, because when you price tickets affordable enough, you don't get one fan, you get the family. You sell more tickets and more people go to your show, and you build up an audience and a program that the whole family can watch and enjoy. Tickets are so expensive now. I'm sure parents are picking like, I can only take one of my kids to this, or crap, if I can't take all my kids because the tickets are too expensive, I'm not going to bother going. And I want Midnight to take the reins on this because this was he knew this before Maven did. So what do you think about their current pricing strategy? And do you think it's also effective in the ratings, why people aren't seeing this stuff?
Okay, so there's a reason why Vince McMahon knew his everyday family was where his bread was buttered, is because he understood that this was a generational business. And he understood that if someone in the 90s bought a ticket to their show and could afford to take his kids, guess what? In 30 years, when those kids that were in the audience that their dad took them, they're going to go, my dad took me to see Steve Austin. I'm taking you to see Cody Rhodes. And well, guess what? Now he can't. And guess what? I got to see I never saw Steve Austin wrestle live, but I got to see Hulk Hogan live. I got to see Michaels live. I got to see all these guys live. And I wanted to take my kids to the Raw in Sacramento a couple weeks ago. And I couldn't really afford. I mean, I could have bought the tickets. Um, but I didn't want to spend the money on those tickets. And now I don't get to have that memory or share with my kids like, oh, daddy took me to a wrestling show. Maybe I'll take my kids to a wrestling show. We'll watch it on TV, but in terms of going to the shows, that's not who they're going after anymore. They want the whales. And I think it's a trend right now that I just don't understand. Vince McMahon was a smart businessman. He played the long game, and it worked out very well for him.
I definitely think that there's nothing like going to see a wrestling show, because when you're in that ring and that show is on, there's always 4 people that the camera is focused on. 2 wrestlers in the ring, referee, that 4th performer, the audience. So being a part of that crowd is something special. And I think every wrestling fan should be a part of it. I mean, Midnight and I grew up in the middle of the Attitude Era watching that stuff. And we could have gone to shows nearby us and been a part of those big moments. We just never had the opportunity to actually go and do it, which is unfortunate. I wish I can go back in time, beg my dad to take us to go see one of the shows, because it would have been magical to be a part of those moments. And I mean, look at this right here. Okay, I'm not SmackDown show yesterday, as of a few minutes, about 20 minutes before the show started and opened, they had 264 tickets left out of 7,000. Now, look, in the grand scheme of things, that's 4 or 5% of all tickets available. That's not bad itself, but this is the number I want you guys to focus on. 7,000 seat arena. Look at the way this is set up. Look how many seats aren't being sold or not being available in those seats, because the way the ring is set up and what they're focusing on. This arena could seat. Look at this. Total seats on map. 14,000 people in this building. They knew they couldn't fill that arena. They cut it in half because that's how much they could sell. Even this. Ticket prices, $43 for the lowest available, up in the boonies. When we went to our Raw, our first show, we paid $25 for similar seats. I think that's a fair price for a show, but I also think that's a telling price, because now they're lowering those prices and they're lowering the size of the arena that they're bringing. And I know we give AEW shit for this, being always empty gymnastics. But WWE is on the cusp of this right here, and it's bad. And it's not because their product is the end all be all worst thing. I'm not saying that. It's not the greatest product it could be right now. I think there's an opportunity to be fantastic. But doing stuff like this, cutting your arena in half and not even selling that out at the price, it's telling, and this is a problem. And I think whoever making these decisions should either start picking new or doing something else to try to fill those fast, or fucking bright idea here, lower your damn ticket prices. Wouldn't it? I mean, think about this. Would it look better optically to cut your prices in half and fill 14,000 seats, or charge double and try to sell only 7?
You should try and get more people in there, because those 14,000 people, like I said, might have children in that audience who will remember when their parents took them to see an event. And that's the thing. That's the thing these TKO guys, these Endeavor guys just don't understand. They don't know how to play the long game, man.
Not only that, but when you have 14,000 people in there who spent half as much as a ticket, guess what they have money for? Merch. They have money for programs. They have money. They're going to go see it. I paid this much again. I'll go again next time they're in town, and I'll spend more money on merch.
That's a fantastic point. I mean, don't you want 7,000 more people in there to buy your merch and concessions? I mean, merch is the easiest money to make in wrestling. You get these T-shirts printed in China or wherever, in Taiwan, for 50 cents a pop, and you sell them for $30. Come on.
And just to end things here, a lot of people are blaming Cody Rhodes for the decline of viewership. They're saying he's one of the worst champions that they've ever had. And this picture came up when Jinder Mahal was champion. The highest rated SmackDown was at 2.5 million, and Cody Rhodes' current book was at 1 million. And I think this is an unfair look, because look, Cody was champion in 2024, and he was drawing high numbers. Look at this here. He was drawing numbers up like Jinder Mahal was. Even here, here's one where he beats it right during Mania, the week to Mania. I don't think it's Cody's fault. I think it's an overall fault of the program. Because look, you're not playing. Imagine going to the All-Star game and booking only 2 or 3 of your top guys on here. Where the fuck has Randy Orton been? Where the fuck are your other top guys and top stars to help book and bring events in? Look, Sami Zayn, people apparently love this guy. He was on, last week to lose the U.S. title? Why not book him again and do another match or do something else? They feel like they are dancing around this subject and only using 1 or 2 top guys a week and cycling in their guys like it's a fucking house show. It's not. It's not your B team here. Throw your A guys in there. Your product is bleeding right now, and you're not sending up your all-stars. Why? Whose decision was this? Who is behind this absolute madness that we can blame and yell at? Because it's ridiculous. Why would, like, imagine, remember the SmackDown vs. Raw games had the general manager mode? Imagine going into the Attitude Era and going, all right, I'm going to have Austin one week, and then the next week we're going to do, let's do Midi and Viscera in a tag team versus the Hollies. That'll be our main event. You know how stupid that sounds? Yeah, it sounds retarded, because it is. Because right now, you have Drew and Cody leading the charge. They're your two top guys. And that is it. There's nothing of major substance going on SmackDown right now of any note. I looked at the results of this week's SmackDown just to see if anything, because I was thinking to myself, okay, when I saw these rating numbers here, I said it's the lowest week in history. Is it really a dip? Well, we'll have to see what the ratings are for yesterday's show. And honestly, I can't see it going higher than this number. Did you even read the results for this week's show?
I honestly did not watch SmackDown and didn't even read the results.
You know why? Because no one can be asked, because that's how bad the product's gone. And just to let you guys know, turn the fucking clock back on this podcast where we both said we can't wait to find out what's happening on Raw.
But not on SmackDown.
Right, because I don't know who's running the ship on SmackDown right now, but they're sailing it into a fucking iceberg.
Yeah.
What do you think about this Cody comparison right here? I know you're a huge Cody Rhodes mark.
Well, so for instance, right, Jinder Mahal was not champion for very long, but also there's only really been two people that whose title runs, or at least their presence, really made a significant difference in the ratings, and that would be Hogan and Austin. I mean, Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, the ratings were not that great when they were champions. I mean, they didn't have prime time right away. Well, they had Raw, but it's not like they can be blamed for when the whole product is stale. It's kind of like you have one item on the menu at a restaurant, but the restaurant is so poorly run. It's like, okay, we can cook this really awesome steak, but our fries suck, our Cokes suck, our waitresses are jerks, and we're only open 2 days a week. So it's you're not going to sell a lot of you're not going to sell you're not going to be a successful restaurant doing that. So it's just kind of indicative of just a funny little meme that will get some clicks and some attention that'll last about a day, and then we'll move on to another meme.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cody's great. I think he has the potential to do more. I just think they need to do more with him right now. He doesn't have a stable of bad guys to face. Drew McIntyre was his best bet, and I think it would have been better for Cody to drop the title to Drew and do a bit of chasing for a while, because it'd draw more interest in the product. But right now, like, who's he up against? I heard he cut a promo on tonight's show saying he's moving on from Drew McIntyre. Where, Cody? Where the fuck are you going?
Yeah.
Who else is there to face? Are you bringing Randy back? Because that's a match I'd love to see. I think those two guys could tear a house down or two working together. But SmackDown is a ship without a captain, and they're gonna crash. And right now, it's like the old adage says, it's not going to go down with a bang, but a whisper. And it's just going to slowly fade into obscurity. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see wrestling die. I don't want to see the product fail. I don't want to see, WWE collapse. That doesn't mean I'm not going to stop criticizing them, because when you get critique is how you grow and you make yourself better. You get down, you learn to pick yourself back up. I think there's potential left. There's still a lot of good story to tell, but I don't know where they go from here. And I think SmackDown's ratings are going to go abysmally, for the next few weeks until they make some kind of change. And I feel like this is going to be a move where they're going to get desperate and do something kind of outlandish or bring somebody back. Like, what are you paying Brock for? Can't you get Brock on there to go do something for a few minutes? Like, what's his appearance schedule? You put him on the WrestleMania 42 promo already. We know he's going to be there. Do something with him. Have him taunt Rhodes or something like that. Like, build up to that. What if every week Cody's trying to do something and he just messes with Cody's opponents? And he's like nobody's gonna get to you until I do, Cody. Your days are numbered. I put a target on your back. Imagine that. That is a babyface you can get behind because you know Brock Lesnar's coming after you. I know they've had programs, they've worked before, and he beat him, but this is like a different Brock Lesnar now because he beat the shit out of John Cena, so he's coming back strong and tough. So that would get me interested in your show. That would get me behind Cody. That would make me excited for the product to be.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think that just some marquee matchups until we can get to WrestleMania would definitely help. And if it's going to be Brock, if it's going to be anyone, it should be Brock. And that's why I'm kind of interested to see where they go with Rumble. Do they take the title off of him at Rumble? Do they keep it on him until WrestleMania and then maybe take it off of him at WrestleMania again? I mean, who knows? But I think some marquee matchups are kind of due for Cody.
If they didn't take it off him now with Drew, I don't think they take it off him until Mania. Yeah. Because he was on the poster, but we'll see. But that's all the time we have for this week's episode, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're excited to be back here next week, and thank you guys for joining us. We're really hoping to see some good stuff, and we honestly, I hope I'm proven wrong on a lot of this stuff. I really, really do. I don't like being right all the time. It's hard. It sucks. It's very, very endearing. I'm a humble guy. I'll be the first to admit it. Okay, no one's more humble than me. I'm actually the humblest of all humble people, maybe ever.
Shit.
But yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you again for tuning in. I'm Dr. Legend, joined with Midnight. So long, folks, and we will catch you next week.